Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Back in 2017, I got my first leadership gig when I became the production team leader for a large Irish whiskey brand's packaging facility. Since then, I've led teams as small as just 2 or 3 people, all the way up to running full-scale production facilities where I had over 350 indirect reports. In today's video, I want to share with you 5 things which I think turn good leaders into great ones. If you're new here, my name is Shane, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I just love helping people make their lives even happier than they ever thought possible. But with all that said, let's get into today's video. When I first became a leader, the thing I was most anxious about were the difficult conversations. It didn't matter whether it was because somebody was late for work, was underperforming, or the interactions they were having with their team. All of them would have kept me up at night. No matter the reason for having to have this conversation, one thing that will definitely make it worse is avoiding it. Because there's nothing worse than sitting across from a team member and them asking you, why has it taken you so long to tell me? As a leader, if somebody isn't doing what they need to do, be that because of the core role that they're failing to fulfill, or because of their aspirations of their career that they're falling short of, it's your responsibility to make sure that you have that conversation. You wouldn't let somebody knowingly go the wrong way to the airport, and so why would you let them do this with their careers? So long as your advice is truly well intended, you can rest easy knowing that even though the conversation will be difficult, that doesn't inherently mean that it is unsupportive. Here's a hypothetical story. Trevor's wife is quite sick and she's actually in and out of hospital, which is really unfortunate. But because of this, 3 or 4 times a week, he's arriving to work 10 or 15 minutes late. You've never had a formal conversation with Trevor about his attendance, but you have about his wife's illness, and so you give him a little bit of leeway knowing that there's a lot of pressure on at home and that given he is still performing in his job, it's actually not that big of a deal, right? But then a few weeks later, you notice Sarah, another person in your team, is also arriving to work 10 to 15 minutes late, so you pull her in to have a chat. You initially go into this conversation very, very supportive, and all you're doing is sitting down with Sarah just to see what's going on and what is causing this more recent lateness of hers. Her only response is, well, Trevor's coming in late, so I figured I could too, right? And all of a sudden you realise that you haven't got a leg to stand on. Was it wrong to give Trevor a little bit of flexibility in his start time given the issues he's dealing with at home? Of course not. But by not being proactive with the conversation and outlining how long these adjustments will be made for and what Trevor's expectations around them are, we've left ourselves open. Any other members of your team who maybe want to take advantage of your kind spirit have justification to avoid reprimand because you've already set precedents with Trevor. Does this mean that you can't do it? Of course not, but it does mean that you need to be empowered to know what policies and procedures are available to give the support that Trevor needs while also protecting your ability to lead the rest of your team. If this is your first leadership role, chances are your team is going to feel pretty big, and when you pair that with the new experience that you're trying to build, you're going to be spinning wheels for a little bit longer than you would like. But that's okay, because having these non-value add conversations with your team just builds rapport, and that's an important part of becoming a new leader. But it's important to know that that approach comes with its own risks, and very, very quickly we can end up leaving important work on the side as we get caught up on the day-to-day. People calling in sick, production schedules need amending, admin, hiring, firing, it all builds up super quickly. But if you don't protect time to work on your strategy, you're going to get left behind. Don't fall foul to this mistake which most new leaders make and schedule 2 hours per week to just ask yourself, where am I trying to go? The unfortunate reality is that the longer you're a leader, the more likely it is that you're going to have a disagreement with somebody. Sometimes that's through full-scale disciplinaries or investigations, but even performance reviews and yearly objectives can have this challenge too. The only solution that I've found to this is to document everything. Times, dates, and topics of conversations, notes on what other team members confide in you about, and things that you've seen and perceived in their behaviours and actions. I know this seems like overkill, and 99 times out of 100 it absolutely will be. But in that one time you need it, where you're sitting in a disciplinary hearing and wondering when exactly you had that conversation, it is much better to be looking at the details in front of you than trying to trawl through emails and notes and text messages to piece together your story. I know this seems far-fetched and unlikely, but trust me, every single leader who I've had a conversation in this space about has always regretted not having that information when the time comes that they need it. The last and maybe one of the most important things to know as a leader is yourself. Being a leader, our responsibilities now no longer finish with us, and we actually have to look after those who report into us. Not only do we want to help them deliver on their core role, but it's also our responsibility to support the development of their careers too. And while it is one of the most rewarding jobs that you can do, you will find yourself in situations that you would just prefer to not be in. And this is where knowing yourself becomes key to doing the job right. Because if you don't know yourself and understand what makes you anxious, you're going to be blind to the things that you're avoiding by choosing things that are more comfortable. I'd much prefer to spend a couple of hours setting up an Excel file for this upcoming project than have a difficult conversation with somebody. And so by knowing that fact, I can be on the lookout for that feeling of, oh, this Excel file is quite important, knowing that that is probably distraction tactics from the work that I need to do, which is support my team by having that conversation. If you want to be a great leader, spend some time knowing yourself. Becoming a leader has changed my life in so many ways that I never thought it would. It's allowed me to connect with more people and obviously develop my own skills, but it has made my career far more rewarding than I ever thought possible. But to do it right, you have to care. You have to care about those people who are reporting into and how you best support them and their careers. The time to be selfish has gone. That's this week's video, folks. I'd really love to know what you think, so please leave a comment down below. But with all that said and done, that's this week's video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.